Okay, reasonable suspicion. What exactly does that term mean? When it is objectively reasonable for a person to entertain a suspicion based upon facts that could cause, that should be reasonable, person in a like position, drawing when appropriate on his or her training and experience to suspect child abuse or neglect. That's a very lengthy way of saying that for the most part, you guys would likely agree. That's what's going to happen. That it's likely that someone in your position with your experience would also see that as abusive. Okay? And remember when we went through those different vignettes and it's like we're all, shaking our head kind of thing. That's really what this is tapping into. Okay? However, it doesn't mean that there may be incidences where, there's a discrepancy there. Okay? And that could happen. But again, no one can tell you, hey, don't report. And if a supervisor is saying, no, don't report on that. No, they can't, that's not allowed under the law. Okay? They could say that, but that doesn't mean you have to follow what they say. So when you're in doubt, say you really don't know. You have information, you're not sure, maybe it kind of seems like it, some of the things fell under indicators, but you really feel kind of tied with it, you can actually call the hotline, which we're going to cover that in a moment, and consult with them. So don't feel that you're just left hanging on your own to figure out, should I or shouldn't I? Okay, you can consult with people. Okay, but again, ultimately, the decision is going to lie with you. Okay? But I don't want you to feel like you're just sort of left to figure it out on your own. You can talk to people. So when to make an actual report? Well, as far as the phone call, okay, to Child Protective Services, which we're going to cover that. Basically, you want to do that as soon as possible. And in the law, it says immediately. So you want to make that call. You're going to phone a designated child protection agency, which is a CPA, and depending upon the state, they call it something different. They might call it Child Protection Agency. They might call it something else. Department of Children and Family Services is who we call basically to report in. So you want to phone a designated child protection agency, police, county probation, or county child welfare. So there's actually different entities that you can call into. I would recommend calling into DCFS to their hotline, and I definitely think I have this on here on the last couple of slides. I don't often recommend just immediately calling the police, basically, unless there's an imminent danger for that child. If it's something immediately, the child is in danger right now, then by all means. But if it's more one of these other cases and you're just, you're thinking it could be abusive, then just go through the practice of reporting it via the hotline. So once you make the phone contact, which is, again, is immediate, okay, as soon as possible, you're going to follow up with a written report. There is a special form that you need to have completed. Okay, and you need to get that in. And it needs to be within a 36-hour period. Okay, from the time that information came to your awareness. Then you want to make sure that you get this written report into the Department of Justice. There's a specific form. You can actually go online and download the form. I think Laura may even have it available for you guys to access. If not, I know that's one of the things we're working on, is making sure that all of this stuff is accessible for you guys quickly. Okay? So I want you to know about that particular Department of Justice form. And okay, so I have the form, and what I report. what needs to be on there. Okay, for us, we are the mandated reporter. Our name, our business address, our contact information. Child's name, maybe more than one child, maybe some children. Okay, so you would need it for all of them. Name, age, address, and location, present location. Name, address, and telephone number of the child's parent or their primary caregivers. Okay. Now, oftentimes, and we're going to cover this next week, the perpetrators oftentimes are the parent. Okay, you definitely see that a lot. Doesn't mean always. It could be a family friend that they left them with over the weekend or something or other. But oftentimes they're one and the same. In the case where maybe it's not the parent, the suspected perpetrator info Okay, you would need whatever you have on that person. Also, date, time, location of the incident that you're talking about. And location and description of any injury to the child. Okay, so these are kind of some of the basics. And again, if you feel like there's something that you want to get on that form, but the form isn't asking you for it, possibly, that you feel it's not going to be able to capture, when you call in, you can consult with someone and say, well, there's not this physical injury, but there's this stuff going on, and so this is what I know about the child. So you may feel that there's some relevant information beyond what the form is asking for that you want to make sure that DCFS knows about. And so I want you to feel like, I want you to know that you're not limited to this, basically. That you guys should feel comfortable enough when you call in, hey, I have the form, but by the way, I want to tell you this other stuff too. So some other potential relevant information, unusual behaviors of the child. Again, we talked about some of the behavioral stuff. History of substance abuse, domestic violence as DV, and or criminal behavior. So if you're aware of some family stuff with this, given your work with the families, inform them. Family support system, what that's like, and any witness to the incident, if you're aware of that. And there may be other types of relevant information. So again, that'll be your call if you feel that you want to tell that person. If they choose not to use it, they don't use it, but at least you can feel good in knowing that you gave them what information that you had about the case. Okay, where to report? Okay, well, child abuse must be reported in the state it occurred. Okay, Child Protective Agency for LA County, the number is there. Hopefully over time you'll know it by heart. And just have it quick and available for you guys, in your cell phones and whatnot, have it there quickly. And I mentioned, okay, so the first call you want to make upon reasonable suspicion would be to a Child Protective Agency, and for LA County, that's the number. However, reporting to law enforcement, again, just to emphasize this, when the alleged perpetrator is not a family member and the child is in imminent danger. Because typically social workers don't call law enforcement immediately. But I want you to know that you definitely can do that, and we want you to do that if you feel that, hey, definitely the child is in immediate danger, okay? And if it's not a family member, maybe someone took the child or they're telling you that, you want to get the police on it immediately. And that could also include police or sheriff department in the jurisdiction where the incident occurred. That's something to think about. I remember having that arise in a situation and it wasn't the right jurisdiction, so it wasn't their area kind of thing. So making sure that it's the ones that would cover the area that the incident occurred in. But yeah, but definitely Child Protective Agency. Okay, so what are some safeguards for you guys as reporters? Okay, and again, this is in camera, this is spelled out in the law. I've just tried to kind of consolidate things here and reword it a little differently. No supervisor or administrator may impede or inhibit a report or subject the person to any sanction. So they can't penalize you in any way for making a report, even though the supervisor said, no, I really, that's not a good idea to do that. So if you feel that you have enough to go on and you want to report it. Again, it's just suspected, and then it'll be checked out. That's the way that goes. Reports are confidential. There's full immunity for mandated reporters. So you actually can be sued. I want you to know that, but you are protected under the law, okay, for the most part. So there has been cases where an individual was sued, which a child care worker or some type of mandated reporter. However, under CANRA, as a mandated reporter, you're protected, okay, because it's within your role. You're actually supposed to report if you have knowledge or suspicion of, okay? We're put in that role. However, in the event you didn't really like mom, and you're sick and tired of mom, and you make up a fictitious report, which I haven't known anybody to do this in their right mind that would do this, but If it's found out that it was not, was a fictitious report that was made up, you won't be protected under the law. Okay. So, yeah, you can't just go around making stuff about people, right? That's how that goes. But other than that, doing your job day to day, getting information, having to make these calls, call things in, and have them checked out by other parties, you're within your role, and you're protected under the law. Okay. Liability issues for mandated reporters. Failure to report suspected child abuse is a misdemeanor. So you can actually have more ramifications or consequences to yourself in the event you knew of something and you didn't do anything about it. It came to your attention. Okay? Failure to report suspected child abuse is a misdemeanor, 6 months in jail, and a $1,000 fine. Again, it would have to be determined that you knew, in fact, it was suspected or would qualify as that. Okay? That's how that would have to be, the decision would have to be made on that. It is illegal to knowingly make a false report of child abuse. Okay, and that's a given. You don't want to make up stuff about parents or anybody else. So what happens when you call in, you submit your report, then what? Okay, you guys did your part of the process, then what? Well, you're entitled to feedback. Okay, typically, and I have it at the bottom bullet here, it's about 3 weeks, unfortunately. Sometimes I've actually seen it take longer to get some feedback from Child Protective Agency so you know actually what is the status of this case. It could be found that the case is unfounded, okay, that the allegation was found to be false, okay, and oftentimes, we're going off of information that's told to us by someone else, okay, that has information about it. We're not actually observing the situation, the child getting abused. We're going off a report, information provided to us by someone else verbally. So unfounded could be one potential way the case goes. Inconclusive is another potential way that the case could go, where there's insufficient evidence. Okay, so it doesn't mean that it wasn't abuse, there's just not enough evidence to go on. So it's different than unfounded in that case. Substantiated, okay, there's something there. Allegation reveals credible evidence. Okay, so it could be unfounded, inconclusive, and substantiated. We're not going to go into detail today as to what would happen if it's substantiated. Okay, because there's different kind of nuances within the system, as to some parents actually have to do a whole host of things. They may not necessarily lose their children, but there'll be a number of things they have to do. There may be cases where immediately they might lose their rights to their children. So that's something that we will go into, but not today.